Hey guys, welcome back to Magician Reacts. This is Devin Stewart, Magician, coming to me all the way from Indiana, the amazing Barry Rice. Barry, how are you? Thanks for coming on.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you're free to do this. You and I go back years, long time back in the indie scene, back to Taylor Martin's Indie Magic Monthly and some of the older shows that we going back a long ways. That was back when I was with Madnet of Magic, I think, back then. Um,
I remember that, and I think I did the first year of the Winter Magic Festival here, and you did the second year. That's right, isn't it?
yeah, yep. You did year one. Yeah. Yeah, that was the only year I did the Winter Magic Festival. Was we did our fairy tale show that year.
Same
Um,
here. I did the first year. I hadn't done it since. I don't think they want me anymore because they started pulling names like Shin Lim, and
yeah,
I
it
I'm a big
happens.
fish in a small pond, but I'm not that big of a fish in that big of a pond.
And that's okay. It's funny because where I have found my niche in recent years has actually been with like carnies and circus freaks. I do a lot of festivals. There's one down here in Florida in Cape Coral. It's actually about 2 hours south of me, called the Cape Coral Coconut Festival, and I'm the only magician. And it's like 5 or 7 shows in 3 days. I think it's like 7 shows in 3 days. Um, and also intermixed with me on the same stage are stilt walkers and fire performers and gypsies and sword bouncing and acro yoga and all these other wonderful circus acts. And behind the scenes, when we're all in like the same tent and we're living this carny lifestyle for like 3 days, and it's this wonderful thing. And I'm the only magician at the festival, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, I've found my niche with the circus freaks like us. So all right, got a couple questions. So the first question, and um, don't overthink it. How did you get started in magic? What was the start for you?
You know, I It started earlier than I think of it starting. My grandfather did magic. I have one of his old magic books. I didn't really know him, but it kind of runs in the family, I guess. Uh, and I remember watching Tony Hassini's videos that I got from the library when I was a kid. But I didn't really get hooked into magic until I went to college. And the community advisor on my floor was just this wonderful card magician named Chad Ravel, and he absolutely refused to teach me for about 4 months, despite my pestering. But since I had learned as much magic as I had, I kept trying to copy him, and I wasn't good. I was pretty awful, and people would catch me, and then they would know how he did his magic. So after about
Oh,
3 or 4 months of that, he just stopped one day and he said, "Don't do it like that. Do it like this." And he graduated that year, but for the next 5 months or so, we got together frequently, and he taught me to do card magic. And then when he graduated, he introduced me to his mentor, Darren Davis, and Darren sort of picked up the mantle from there. And I've been doing magic ever since. A lot of magic ever since.
yeah. And that's awesome. I love hearing stories like that because it's so funny how people that mentor us almost make us earn the right to be their their student in some ways.
Yeah, everybody wants to thinks they want to know how to do magic, but
Yeah,
it's not fun once you know. And if you just start showing people how to do stuff, then magic just doesn't work for them anymore.
right.
It's not fun for them anymore. So we're doing them a disservice if we just tell everybody how it's done. And that's why you need to earn it. Get out there and show that magic's no fun if you know
Right.
how it's done unless you do it.
Yeah.
And so they want to know that we're going to do it. So
And the fun for us is, I think, a different kind of fun. The fun for us is in the performance, it's in the connection, it's in the presentation. It stops being the shock and awe of how cool the magic effect is and starts becoming, the effect and the bond we have with our audience, and it becomes a different thing. And I remember the first time I ever saw Shakespeare on stage, I remember going, wow, this is a great production. And then I remember the first time I performed Shakespeare on stage, I wasn't thinking it was such a great production because I'm now in the middle of it, but the focus had changed because now it's thinking about, okay, well, I'm talking to an audience, and now they're experiencing what I came to love, why I'm here. So you're absolutely right. I 100% agree. That kind of leads me into another question. You mentioned those two as mentors. Were there any other mentors in your life or in your career that really stand out to you, that got you to where you're as comfortable performing as you are now?
Specifically answering that question, and I'm not sure that he knows this or not, but there was a friend of mine when I lived in Memphis. His name is Larry Clark, and he was a Barnum and Bailey's clown. And obviously not anymore because Barnum and Bailey's is shut down. He's still a professional clown though, and he's a good magician too. But the magic's not what's remarkable about him. I did a few shows with him where I would get up on stage and I would do my part and I would get, some very polite applause and people enjoyed it, don't get me wrong. But Larry would get up on stage and you could almost see him reaching out into the audience, grabbing him by the collar, yanking him in and going, "Watch this, you're gonna love it." And he could command an audience like very few other people that I've seen. And I have a very distinct memory of one time watching him do that at the show, and it clicked. It's like that's what all this is about. No, people aren't here to be fooled. They're here to participate, be entertained, be part of the show. This isn't watching TV. This is a live performance. You've got to interact. You've got to grab them by the collar and pull them in and make them part of the show. And so, that was formative for me. But I've also had a lot of other mentors that have been fantastic.
Sure.
Tom Wolfdahan, you mentioned Taylor Martin earlier. Don Miller. I mentioned Darren and Chad. Everywhere I go, I end up finding people that know things that I don't,
sure,
and learn from them. I'm not looking to emulate Taylor or Don or do exactly what they do, but they both know things that I don't know, and I can pick something up from them because of that. So.
Sure. And I've said this before. I believe that if we're going to be the best, we need to surround ourselves with the best. And that doesn't necessarily mean surround ourselves with the best at what we do. Certainly surround yourself with great magicians, surround yourself with great performers. But I think that also means surrounding yourself with people who are artists in other ways that are really good at what they do, because you learn other aspects. And that's one of the reasons I love performing with the circus crowd, is because these people are professionals in their field, and seeing how they come out and how they connect doing something completely different gives you ideas and inspiration that you can do. And it's like, if you only surround yourself with magicians who are better than you and you don't look at the broader spectrum of performance, then you become just a magician just like them. And so when you can draw inspiration from other people around you, regardless of whether you're a magician or not, I think it helps you grow as an entertainer. There's very few physical disciplines that are out there that you don't benefit us. Whether you learn how to dance, you learn how to move with music, whether you learn ballroom dancing or you learn how to project your voice and singing and training and things like that, all of that is extremely beneficial to you. And, I'm so glad to hear that somebody else has found inspiration in other people. I think that's great. You have done shows, on stages, you've done parlor, you do close up. Of those performance styles, what do you enjoy most and feel most comfortable doing regularly? If you could just book a show and it'd be one type of show, what would it be?
It's the larger parlor shows at this point. For years and years and years, it was all close-up magic. But over the last decade, I have taken that large parlor show and I have honed it down to what I think is what I do best. And it's a lot of fun for me too. I like when my audiences have 100 or 150 people in it. That it's. I'm a little bit conceited. I love the applause from a room full of people. You start to get into huge shows, and I don't know that everything I do translates to large distances. So the larger parlor shows are where I really have, I think, the most fun, and I get to interact a little bit better. I'm not on a huge stage. It's not impossible for me to grab somebody up on the audience and pull them up. I can also look out at them and see their faces. Whereas if you're on a grand stage, those lights wash out the entire audience. It's you just pretend like you're looking somebody in the eye. You know, it might be a blank section. You don't know.
Yeah, I get it, and it's and I think as we progress through different stages, you said at this stage you enjoy the large parlor shows, and that may change for you down the road,
Mm-hmm.
but it's where you found your connection in your niche, I think it's important that we all recognize where we feel most comfortable out there, and I get it because I'm kind of a sucker for the applause too, and I'm a sucker for the attention as well. Last question, and then I want to see some magic. You have done magic for years, and certainly where you are now to where you were, you mentioned this guy who kept messing up tricks to where you are now, and you're comfortable in performing and doing friend shows and such. What were some of the challenges you feel you faced in your magic career that you've had to kind of overcome, whether it's with yourself or publicly?
For me personally, I've been super lucky. I never set out to be a professional magician. I always thought that seemed like one of those unreasonable things. My son told one of his teachers at one point that he wanted to be a magician, and his teacher said, "Don't be stupid. Nobody's ever a magician. That's not what people do for a job." And that was, that's the way I got started on it. I didn't think I was gonna do anything really professionally. What's ended up being a challenge though is taking the rest of life and meshing it together with magic. It's tempting to do as many shows as I can. Some part of me wants to be on stage all the time, but there's more to life than that. And balancing those two things and that race to always get better, to always be trying something new, to always be improving. It's challenging for me to balance that against the day job that I have, and making sure that I spend time with my family and have friends and stuff like that. I probably could sit around and do magic all day, but I've chosen to not do that.
And that works for you. And that's I think is the biggest thing, is you have to find what works for you in your life. Every job, it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're a magician or you have a day job or both or whatever, every job requires some measure of sacrifice, and you have to kind of pick and choose. And once you have a family, you have no choice but to, your family comes first, marriage and all those things have to kind of take priority. So it's where you shift your focus. And that certainly is a challenge. Absolutely. That's one that I know a lot of people do struggle with and have problems with, certainly. So I want to see some magic. So I'm actually going to mute my mic because I want you to be heard very clearly with what you're going to do. You said the name of the trick to me. I didn't even look it up. I have no idea, but I'm very excited to see what you got. Okay. Go for it.
All right. I am going to ask you a question here in a minute. But one of the things with the pandemic going on is I have done a couple of virtual shows, and it's a little different. You can't do the same kinds of tricks that you can do in person. For instance, if I wanted you to pick a card, I can't just fan out the deck and have you pull the card out. That's just, you physically can't reach through the camera and do that. So the alternative to that is to, spread the cards out. You can look at them. Let's not do the Joker. You can look at them and name a card out. I think they're all here. So if you just want to name one, I don't know if you can see them clearly or not.
I can kind of see them, but we're going to go with Jack of Spades.
The Jack of Spades. The Jack of Spades. Let's see. Where's the Jack of Spades? There's the Jack of Spades right there. So that's one thing that's different about picking, is the way that cards are chosen. The other thing that's really interesting that I didn't think about ahead of time is perspective is different. When you're looking through a camera, you only have one dimension. You don't have the three-dimensional image that you get with your two eyes. So what ends up happening is if I push this card forward, it can look significantly bigger than the rest of the cards. And your brain is unable to decide whether this card is actually bigger or just closer. It's very difficult to tell, and people make mistakes like that. The other possibility is sometimes, since things can look bigger, sometimes they can look smaller as well. you'll notice the Jack of Spades in relation to the other cards looks smaller at this point. It's all an illusion, though. It's one that I'm not even doing. It all happens because of the perspective with the camera. And if you take a close look, you'll notice that the Jack of Spades is actually the same size as all of the other cards.
That's wonderful. Oh, I love that. That's great. And and that plays to kind of what we're talking about. A lot of people have, and myself included, have difficulty sometimes doing the Zoom shows because my format isn't set for it. And that's one of those great just visual effects. I love that that it was a named card. I think that's super strong. No, I love that effect. That's great. We're gonna have to talk off camera about that effect just a little bit. That's good stuff. I love it. Well, one last question for you, Barry, and then I'm gonna let you go. You're doing shows. You've got stuff going on. If people want to reach out to you, I want to put your information on here. Is there a website, Facebook? What's the best way to get a hold of the Amazing Barry?
The best way to get a hold of me is to go to amazingbarry.com. There is contact information on there. You can call me. You can send me an email. I try to, if I'm doing shows, which I'm not doing very many right now, then I put information about them up on the website. I have kicked around the idea of doing maybe some charity shows or something like that on Zoom, but I feel there's a lot of magicians out there that are trying to make ends meet because that's all they do is magic. I do other things as well, so I'm letting them have the majority of those shows. But the bug to perform is getting to me, so I may have one up relatively soon.
Well, we're extroverted people, so we draw on the energy of being in public, and when we're trapped inside our houses, we just go crazy. I get it.
That's right,
so I'm going to have all of your contact information. I'm going to have it here at the bottom of the screen. It's also going to be in the comment section down below. Barry, thank you for coming on and doing the interview. I really appreciate it. I wish you all the luck with what you got going on up there, and hopefully we can get together and jam again soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit the subscribe button. I'm doing these interviews. I've got all kinds of magicians that we're going to be talking to, and more content. So like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye.